Hey friends, welcome to this kind of last minute live stream. Good morning, good morning. I did want to have my chat over here on my prompter, but my prompter's not working. You gotta love technology. It's super frustrating. Good morning to you in Kingston, Ontario, not too far. Idaho, Spain, Florida, Poland. Welcome, guys. Okay. So today's live is going to be kind of a prep for my July challenge. For those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, I am hosting a watercolor challenge on July 1st, starting July 1st for the whole month of July. So July is World Watercolor Month. And I have never done anything for it in the past, but this year I was ahead of the game and I actually prepared something. So I prepared 31 videos of watercolor techniques that are about 10 minutes or less. And I say 10 minutes loosely because I really did try to keep them short. But some of them go to like 12 minutes. Some of them, not all of them. A lot of them I did try to keep 10 minutes or less because if you're going to be painting every day, I don't want to overwhelm you with one, too much information, two, take up too much of your time because people have lives, and three, just too much of it all at once. So I wanted to create some bite-sized content that you guys can, maybe wake up in the morning. That could be one of the first things you do with your coffee is watch the video and follow along with the technique of the day. So I have this challenge that's happening July 1st. It is completely free. It is here on YouTube. There is no need to sign up. You don't need to register or anything. All you're going to do is show up on YouTube if you can. Whenever you have time that day, the videos are going to drop at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if you can't watch it until later that night, that's totally fine. The videos are going to be up on my channel forever. There's not a specific time you can do it. If you're really busy in July, you can wait until August and then just do it in August. It really doesn't matter. You go at your own pace. You can do a couple a day if you're behind. It's really all up to you. I've been doing your watercolor week and I'm looking forward to watercolor month. Yes. So it's kind of similar to that. But like I said, the tutorials are a little bit shorter. So there's a lot of techniques that you're going to be learning and then how to kind of put them into a painting. So where did I put my sketchbook? I'm trying to find out what I'm doing here. Okay. So yeah, so I wanted to create something that was going to be, easy and not scary and fun for everyone to do. And it's for everyone. So if you have never picked up a brush before or painted with watercolor. Maybe you've done those like acrylic paint nights, but you've been thinking about watercolor, but you're just too scared. You don't know where to start. This is a perfect opportunity to start. And also today I'm going to show you everything you need in order to paint with watercolor, because obviously you need water, you need brushes, you need paint and all that stuff. But watercolor paint isn't like acrylic paint. It's completely dry and you have to activate it. So if you've never painted with watercolor, you might not know that. So I'm going to give you the rundown of everything you need today for the challenge starting July. I'm going to put all of the info in the description. Copy, paste. There are some like really affordable materials that I do recommend, that if you don't have any, these are the ones I do recommend, and I'll kind of go through what I have as well. So if you guys have any questions at any point, let me know in the chat and I can answer those for you. So, okay. Was there anything else I wanted to say about that? I don't think so. Okay, so this is for my friends who have never painted before. Also, like I said, this is for people who have never painted, but also if you have been painting for a while, this challenge is going to be great for you, because I know not all of us are practicing watercolor every day and painting consistently. So while a bunch of this is going to be a refresher of basic techniques, these are techniques that I still practice, that I obviously I did the challenge, I did the videos, and you're going to see my work's not perfect every time, because you have to keep up with these techniques and practicing, because it's going to turn out different. So if you've never picked up a paintbrush before, this is for you. If you've been painting for a few months or a few years, this is for you. If you're a well-seasoned watercolor artist, this may be a little bit boring, but why not practice with some sort of like practice drill every day anyway? So this is for absolutely everybody. Okay, so I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see the materials I am talking about. And again, if you have any questions about any of the materials, you can let me know. Full painting. All right. Well, my very messy paper towel. Okay, so in the description, I did give a few recommendations of sketchbooks and paper for the actual challenge for all of the videos. This is the sketchbook I use. It is a Paul Rubens hot press watercolor sketchbook. I got a lot of questions about this because typically when I'm working with watercolor, I almost always work on cold pressed paper. Now, if you don't know what that is or what the difference is, I will tell you. But if you look at the description of a lot of different kinds of paper, I need to turn up my lights. I feel like they're very, very low. If you look at the description of many different kinds of paper, so this is like a Meeden watercolor block, you'll see it will say cold pressed or hot pressed or rough. And basically what that is the texture of the paper. So this is like a painting I was doing, just fooling around the other day. There we go. A little bit brighter. Playing with skies. I actually really like how this turned out. But it's the texture of the paper. So a cold press has a nice toothy texture to it. You can kind of see it within the water. It's very textured. And the benefit of having a cold press paper is that the watercolor and the water tends to seep into the paper and stay wet longer. Hot press paper is very, very smooth. It's still 100% cotton. And if you've ever heard of like, you need 100% cotton paper to paint with watercolor, you don't need it, but it just reacts a lot better. This is 100% cotton hot press. This is 100% cotton cold press. Now the hot pressed from Paul Rubens is very, very smooth. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, like, it's really hard to show on camera, but this is a lot smoother. Now, however, while I don't use a lot of hot press papers, I found that this sketchbook from Paul Rubens, and the reason why I recommended it is because one, it is very affordable. I believe on Amazon Canada, it was like $14 for 20 sheets in this really nice portable sketchbook. But also this hot press paper I found doesn't, like, it seeps in the watercolor and it stays wet longer than other hot press papers. Some hot press papers are way too hard to work on. This one I actually found a lot easier. Now, as the challenge went on, I was kind of realizing that it wasn't as easy as a cold press paper. And so if you do have the sketchbook, you might not run into some troubles with it, but it is a little bit more tricky to work on it. But through the whole challenge, I kind of show you all the little tips and tricks on how to work on this paper. So if you got this paper, don't worry. It is a great sketchbook. Honestly, I have so many of these sketchbooks from Paul Rubens that I've been using over the years, and I really, really love it. And everything that I painted in here, this is all the stuff that we're learning throughout the challenge. All of these techniques work on this paper, okay? So don't worry about it. You're going to be learning on this paper, which is the trickier paper. But if you can get a cold press paper, that also works. The other sketchbook I did recommend was a Lightwish sketchbook. Now, I believe I did have one somewhere from a while ago. They did just recently send me one. This is from Lightwish, and I do have a video coming out on it in August, and it works really nicely as well. So honestly, whatever you have, use that, and I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks to work on different papers. Okay, let me just look at the chat for a second. I feel like I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. I already have the Paul Rubens book and the Mei Liang paints. Hot press is not my favorite. Hot press is not my favorite either, but I've actually just had really good experiences with this paper in the past, and I don't feel it's as tricky to work on it. So that's why I did recommend it. But if you want a cold press paper, the Lightwish sketchbooks may be better for you. Now those are just affordable options. I'm gonna put my face here too. Other sketchbooks that I absolutely love, but I did not want to necessarily recommend, only because sometimes they're harder to get your hands on and they can be a lot more expensive. But my all-time favorite sketchbooks are the Etcher Lab sketchbooks, the white covers. I love, love, love working in these sketchbooks. They are cold pressed. They are amazing, but they are on the pricier side. And for something that we were going to do that's, beginner friendly, I wanted to come up with really affordable options, which is why I recommended those two different sketchbooks. So I hope that makes sense. And yeah, so I do like the Lightwish paper better. Yes. So you might find the Lightwish one is a bit better, but also it depends on where you are in the world and what you have access to. So that's paper. If you guys have any questions about paper, let me know. Paul Rubens, yes, it is hot press. A lot of people were asking, like, why would you recommend a hot press paper? It works well. And we do a lot of the challenges. I do all of the challenges in here, and it works really, really well. So this is a little sneak peek into what we're learning. Lots of florals, some line and wash, strokes. Lots of fun stuff coming for this challenge, okay? Also, if you do a lot of mixed media, this is a really great sketchbook because cold press paper is very toothy and textured. It's harder to use pens on it or markers or colored pencils. So a hot press paper is actually a really great way to use mixed media. So that's a bonus. Okay. Yes, someone said the same thing about the fine liners. Exactly. Okay, so the paints that I recommended are right here. Obviously, use whatever paints you have. I didn't want people to feel like they had to go out and purchase a bunch of things, especially expensive things, for this challenge. I wanted it to be accessible and affordable. So the paints that I recommended are these Mei Liang paints. This is a set of 36 colors, and the reason why I chose this is because I feel like these are the best quality for the price. Lightwish also has... Where'd the palette go, though? Lightwish also has a palette too. I don't know where I put it though. I just did a review on it. But this is the box. Lightwish also has watercolors that are really good. But the Mei Liang ones, very affordable, and I find they work amazingly. So someone just said when they unwrap them, do they just put them back in the tray like that? Yep. That's all you have to do. And then in order to start using them, obviously, if your brush is dry and your paint is dry, you're not going to be able to pick up any paint. So for those of you who do not know how to use watercolor, and you're only going to know if you've been taught before, so if you've never taken a watercolor class, the way that it's different than acrylic paint it usually comes out of some sort of jar or tube, and it's wet, and you pick up big globs of paint, and that's how you use it. Watercolor only works when you activate it with water. So these are for my newbies. Okay. Oh, 1 second. What is the dimensions of the Paul Rubens sketchbook? This is like a 7 point something by 5 point something. It's 7 by 5, 5 by 7. Okay. So this I feel like was a perfect size for this challenge. They do have smaller ones that are really small, which will also work, but this I found was like the perfect size. You don't want anything too big because we're only working 10 minutes a day. Okay. So 5 by 7 is the one I'm using. Okay. So in order to activate your watercolors, actually I need this. You can either get a spray bottle, just like a really cheap plastic spray bottle, and spray your paints to activate them. Or if you don't have a spray bottle, you can just grab a paintbrush, get some water, and just like put a couple drops in each pan, and that's going to activate them, getting them ready to go. Before I jump into that whole part, let me just explain everything you need in order to paint with watercolor, because not everybody knows. I don't paint with oil because I don't know all the things you need, and it scares me. There's like all these like oils and other like thinning things that you need, and it just scares me, so I don't do it. But if you don't know, how are you going to learn, right? So in order to paint with watercolor, you're going to need some sort of watercolor palette. They come in different forms. This is the one I suggested just because it is very accessible. These are called watercolor pans, where they are in these little pans, and then you just spray them or wet them up to activate them. Watercolors also come in tubes, which let me just see if I have a tube with me. I do somewhere, but I have a bunch of other stuff here. Yeah, watercolor can also come in other tubes like this. Okay, and to use these, you would get a palette kind of like this one that I have, and I squeeze it in there, and I actually let it dry overnight. You can use it straight out of the tube, but I find especially beginners use a lot more than you need if you use it straight out of the tube. I like to dry them out and then spray them down with water to reactivate them. Okay, so they come in pans and tubes. There's also liquids, but we're not going to get into that because you don't need that. Okay, so you need watercolor paint. You need watercolor paper. So like I was talking about, a cold press paper is probably best. But what you want to look for is something that says 100% cotton. It's going to give you the best results. There are other papers that are wood pulp, cellulose. They just don't work as well. I did use those in the beginning, and I still fell in love with it, and it worked just fine. But to get the best results you can, you want 100% cotton paper. So you need paper, paint, you need water, obviously. So I have this like kind of 2-well thing from Meeden. I also have these little cups. I like to work with usually 2 cups, just because you tend to dirty your water really fast. Some people use it to rinse off their like warm colors like red, orange, and yellow, and then the other thing to rinse off green, blues, and purples so you don't get muddy mixtures. Up to you. But you need water. You also need paper towel. You need paper towel so you can dry off your brush. Paper towel, which you'll see in the challenge, is very, very handy in so many ways. Not just to dry off your brush, but it's a necessity. We do a lot of techniques with it. And it also helps with water control. So you're going to learn all of that, but you're going to need water, paper towel, paint, paper, and then obviously brushes. So I have my own line of brushes with Craftimo. If you order them now, you won't get them in time for the challenge, but there are tons of other affordable options. There are some in the description. These are the brushes that I used when I first started out, the Princeton Snap ones, but you can use whatever you have. For sizes, what I suggest is something like a mid-size, so like an 8. Round is just the shape of the brush, so like this typical paintbrush shape. Or there's like other different shapes as well. There's, a flat brush, which I'm going to get to in a second. There's ones that are like a filbert brush where they're rounded. But for this, get like a mid-size round brush, like a size 8, 10, or 12. Maybe a smaller one, like a size 2 round. So it's nice and small for detail. And then a bigger brush where you have a flat wash, because we do actually a lot of flat washes with this. You can do it with a round brush, but you'll get better results if you have a bigger brush like a flat brush. Okay, so that's everything you need in order to paint with watercolor. Let me just look at the comments before I continue. The name of the white sketchbook is Etchr, ETCHR. They're in a lot of my videos. I don't know if they're in the description of this one. ETCHR. Right? Etchr, yes. And I'm an ambassador for their company, and I love their sketchbooks. They're amazing. I have so many of them. But I think it's called the Everyday Sketchbook. They do have them available on Amazon too. You might want to check them out. Mei Liang paints are my ultimate favorite. I'm on my second set. I always run out of my pink and green. Same here. If you actually look at mine, the two colors that have the most taken out of it is my pink and my olive green. Every other color is still there. And then maybe a little bit of this light blue, but mostly my pink and green. I use the Mead and Double Well for cool and warm rinse, yes. I also keep a clean cup of clean water in case of emergency. I know, I have like 4 water jars. I have the Mead and one, I have 2 of these there. I use a lot of water. Okay, so now that you know everything you need to paint with watercolor, all the supplies, I'm going to show you how to use them and how to load your brush. Okay, so I'm just going to grab one of the last pages here. I like to have a clip for my sketchbooks just to keep them open. Oh, the other thing you need for the challenge, you don't need it, but I do use it a few times in the challenge. Get some sort of washi tape or painter's tape, because we do some like landscapey skies like this. So we do like this misty tree thing, and I do tape off a border. When you use a lot of water, you want to you don't want to have to work right to the edge, because then the page starts to like buckle and move like this. So I like to tape a border, and then I like to clip it down. These clips, like you can get them at the dollar store, not these exact ones, but you can get a binder clip from the dollar store. These ones are from Amazon. Just look up like rose gold binder clip. They're nothing special. But yeah. So some sort of painter's tape or washi tape, something that's not going to rip your paper. I would test it out on your paper before you do a painting, because there have been many times where I've laid down a specific washi tape, or if I didn't have painter's tape, masking tape, and it actually rips the paper. You can use like a hairdryer to heat the tape up so it's easier to remove if you are worried about it tearing, okay? Does the lid of your paints lay flat? I just bought this set and it doesn't lay flat. I mean, not really. Not completely flat, but it's not like this. It should lay sort of flat. It doesn't bug me. And I used it for the whole thing, so I don't know. Do we need anything to mix colors, like a palette? Nope. Thank you for asking. Is it Janet? That's a great question. So, well, you do need a palette if you have like the tube watercolors. You need something to mix the colors. Here you can see that I use this whole area. I do mix my colors here. If you have a palette like this with tons and tons of colors, you're not going to need to mix too much. But in order to mix colors, so say I wanted to, I don't even know, what color do I mix a lot in here? I wanted to make like a more bluish green. So I would take like a little bit of this emerald green, and I want to add some blue to it. I got to remember which blue is which. I would take some of that. You wash off your brush in between and then mix it in the well, and then you start painting. Okay, so you will be using like a mixing palette. If you are using tube watercolors, you're going to need some sort of palette to mix on. Okay, but usually you can just mix right here and you have enough space. I got excited. I have the same washi tape from the Craft in My box. Yeah, I've used like 3 of these already. There should be a supply list in the description of like suggestions of the paper and paint and brushes. Do we need anything to mix colors? I already did that. It's helpful. I got a ceramic paint plate from the Dollar Tree to mix colors. Yeah, you don't even need a palette. You could use a plate. You could go to a dollar store and get like just a ceramic plate and use that as your palette. Honestly, that works. You need to rough up the surface to minimize beading. So with this one actually, these I have never had trouble. The tin palettes, I've never had trouble with the beading. If you have a plastic palette, you might have trouble with that. I do have a video on it. But these ones seem pretty okay, and ceramic ones, they're fine. Okay, so in order to start painting, okay, so I'm just gonna go through the basics here. So once your what's it called? Stop listening to me, Siri. Once your paints are all wet, okay, so say you wet them up, you either sprayed them, or you chose what colors you want to use and you just put a little bit of paint in there. You want like a little puddle, okay? You want to create a little puddle. One thing I do see with beginners a lot of the time is they don't use enough water, okay? Or they use too much. But a lot of the time I see they're not using enough water. They have a wet paintbrush and a completely like bone dry paint, and they'll just keep mixing until they get this really thick, dark wash. And they'll just, instead of adding water to their brush, they keep going back into the paint, just trying to pick up more paint. And it just is very dark, and then it gets really thick, and then you end up having like this dry brush. Watercolor, you need water. And water is such a huge fundamental part of watercolor. That is how you lighten or darken a color. So in order to lighten a color, so here we have like, also how I said you didn't have enough water. You can feel you don't have enough water if it starts feeling like sticky and tacky. See how it's getting kind of like dry, and you're getting a bit more of these like dry brush strokes. This is a technique, and having your paint this thick is a technique, but you don't want it like that all the time. You actually want to create like a little puddle. So what you want to do is have a little puddle in there, and you're going to build off the consistency like that. So you can see, I don't know if you can see the difference now. There's like a little puddle in there. There's also a little puddle in here. See this puddle? Okay. Now this is still going to be nice and dark because that puddle has been sitting there. But in order to lighten a color, all you have to do is add a little bit more water to your brush. Run your brush against the side of your water jar. That's even too light. Grab a little bit more. And that's how you lighten a color. So unlike acrylic paint, you add white paint to make a color lighter. In watercolor, you actually add water to make it lighter. So we have this really dark value here, and we do a lot of value scales. We talk a lot about this throughout the month. But if you have mostly just paint, see how dark that is? And the way I like to lighten it up the easiest is just rinse it off in my water jar a little bit, run it against the side, maybe even tap it on my paper towel a bit, and you get a lighter value. These are called values, the darkness or lightness of a color. Okay, you can rinse it off a little bit more, and it gets even lighter. Rinse it off a little bit more, tap it, lighter. And when you're working with watercolor, this is so important because you want to work with the lightest, you want to work light to dark. So you want to start with those lighter values instead of using all dark saturated colors. Does that make sense? Let me know if I'm not making sense. Yeah, so in order to paint with watercolor, you need water. So again, if my brush is wet and I go into this like bone dry paint, don't just sit here mixing, picking it up like it would be acrylic paint until you get this dark. Put that puddle in there, let it sit a little bit, okay? And then you can just like swatch and play around. Now, if you want to lighten up a color without, just washing it off in your little cup here, you can bring your color over to your mixing wells here, and then just bring some more water over to lighten it up that way. And it will eventually get lighter. Before you paint on the paper though, don't go right from here to here because you're going to have a very, very watery stroke, and water control is one of the biggest things you need to learn before you go into your paint or your paper. So you're mixing, you're adding the water, tap your brush on your paper towel, get rid of some of that excess water, and then you have almost like the perfect amount of water and a light value on your page, okay? So that's how you load your brush. If you want a really dark value, lots of paint, you're gonna pick up more paint, less water. So I want nice dark value. But if I want it lighter, you're going to use more water. You can add it to your mixing well here. Again, tap it on your paper towel first before you go onto your paper. Okay? So that is how you load your brush. You're going to see me talk a lot about water control throughout this challenge. And if you notice here, I have a few different little pools. See how shiny it is and how it's pooling? You don't want it to pool on your paper. This is going to create some unevenness in your work. If this is happening, all you need to do is take your brush, which should be like, it's probably damp but dry for the most part, and all you do is you can just like lift up some of that paint with your brush, and it will take those pools away. So now it's going to dry evenly. I'm going to wash off my brush, dry it on my paper towel, and I'm just kind of lifting up that excess water with my brush, drying it on my paper towel. And that's how you get a nice even wash. Now, if you are working on hot press paper, see this little pool right here? If you are working on hot press paper, this tends to happen a lot more. Cold press tends to have it soak in into the paper a little bit better. But like I said, if this happens, just take your brush and lift it up, or you can even take your paper towel and just soak it up that way. I find the brush a little bit easier. And you can just smooth it out. Okay? I always mess because of water. This is like 101. If there's there's too much water when there's little puddles, when there's little pools, okay? And you just soak it up with your brush. That's it. Okay? If you don't have enough water like here, okay, see how it's very dry right there? That means you don't have enough water unless you're going for a dry brush look, which we will get into in the challenge. If it is too dry, like this, and you go on your paper, and you're getting like these kind of drier, you can feel it with your brush. If you were to do it, it feels very tacky. See that? Those texture marks. Now this is a technique, like I was saying, this is called the dry brush technique. But if you don't want that, wash your brush, dry it a little bit, just add a little bit more water from your brush, and it smooths right out. Okay, and no pools. If you went in with too much water, you might get those little pools. See the pool right there? Just dry your brush off on your paper towel, soak it up, tap it on your paper towel again, soak it up, and there you go. Okay? So that is the basics of painting with watercolor, of how you're going to use your materials. So you need paper, right? We talked about the different kinds of paper, 100% cotton, cold press, hot pressed. My recommendations in the description. Paint. Many different forms of paint, but this is one of the ones that I recommend. It's just very accessible, but again, use what you have. The only ones I would stay away from are those like chalky kids paints. I think I have the ones from the dollar store. I'm just going to show you an example. I actually went to the dollar store and I picked these up because I was like, I just wonder. I wanted to do a video on really crappy supplies from the dollar store. And this was so bad that I was like, I don't even think I can use this. Hold on. Okay, so like these ones from like the dollar store, I think this was like $4. They're not good, but you can see they're not shiny at all. They're very like chalky looking. Okay, now when I was starting out, I did use something like this from Michael's, like an Artist Loft palette, and it was not good. But I still fell in love with watercolor either way. But I will show you the difference. Sorry, it's very loud. I mean, it's kind of a cool design, but I'll show you what. So I'm adding water to my palette to create little pools. Oh, the sound of it, it's like so chalky. It's not, I mean, let's see how it dries. I'm saying it's not too bad, but it's not as pigmented. See how light that is? You don't get the same, like, here's a purple from the other one. Look at the difference in the, oh, sorry. You can't see what I'm doing. Look at the difference in the pigments, okay? So I let that sit there for a second. Like, look how light. It's very, very chalky. Lots of fillers, not a lot of pigment at all. Like it takes forever to get any kind of color. Let's see the green. It's sitting there like they're not good. Can you work with this? Yes. But it's not going to be the same as if you get actual good watercolors. Like, look, this is dry. I'm going to do just like a couple swipes. Look how much more pigmented that is. And that was just like from dry, only a couple swipes. That's a different green, but okay. Quality does matter. And I'll show you, they're starting to dry and you can see the separation and the chalkiness of these. Okay. So I don't recommend, if you are going to do this, do not get a dollar store one. You're going to be very frustrated and disappointed with the outcome, and you're going to think it's you, and it's not you. It is your materials. So keep that in mind. I just got here. What do you like about the Meliang palette? Do you have any swatches of the colors? Does Meliang have tubes? What challenge? Okay. Nick, watch from the beginning of the live stream because I did go through all of that. But for the whole challenge that I'm doing for July, I'm doing a challenge where I am doing techniques every single day, teaching you different things on how to create landscapes, a lot of loose florals. Everything I do in that challenge, I'm using the Meliang palette. So, and the materials that I've recommended. Do you need masking fluid for the challenge? No. I love using masking fluid for some things, but I also didn't want to make people feel like they had to go out and buy it. That's something they could do later when they become a bit more familiar with watercolor. Love watching your tutorials. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Paula. So yeah, so that is what you need. That is what you need to know to get started. Honestly, everything else is going to be explained throughout the whole month. So here, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. See the separation? It's like these like chalky little pieces floating around. The quality is not the same, excuse me. But yeah, so I think, I don't remember if I posted the daily lessons yet on YouTube, but if you go to my Instagram, I have laid out the lessons of what we're doing for each day. Does Meliang have tubes? Oh, they do have tubes refills on Amazon. Very reasonable price. Oh, I did not know that. Thanks, Nikki. I had no idea. That's awesome. Oh yeah, sorry. On my Instagram, I did a post where I laid out all the lessons for each day of what we're learning. So if you're interested to see what we're doing each day, you can go there. It also lays out the live streams. I have 4 live streams scheduled for July. They are July 10th, July 17th, the 22nd, and the 31st. So all the other ones are pre-recorded videos, 10 minutes or less. The live streams will be a bit longer, just because I did want to be able to connect with you guys throughout the live stream. They will be happening at, I don't know exactly when, because my son is home from school for the summer. So I just want to make sure that, you know, everything's good, because sometimes when you have kids home and you don't have childcare, you got to go with the flow. So I will announce the times of the live streams beforehand. But just because there's live streams doesn't mean you have to make it there live. If you can, that's great. If you can't, the replay will be available to watch after and will remain on my channel. So don't worry if you do miss it. But yeah, they're probably going to be in the morning around 9:30-ish. Eastern Standard Time in the morning. And then the day where I do the live stream on the 22nd, that is my 38th birthday. And I will be doing a giveaway. I'm going to be giving away my book. I'm going to be giving away some brushes. I have to see what else I have. And I'm going to be doing a fun giveaway for my birthday live stream. So I will try and make a post about that, and I will give a heads up of the timing of the live streams beforehand. But yeah, so those are going to be fun too. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I wanted to share with you guys today. So if you've never started with watercolor, I hope I gave you guys a little bit of insight into all the things you need, how to load your brush, kind of the basics of what you need for watercolor. You need water in order to paint with it, to activate it. So I hope that was very helpful. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I will come back and I will try and look at the comments. But I think that's about it. So you're going to need paper, paints, brushes, water, paper towel, and some sort of washi tape or painter's tape. And that's about it. So I think I'm gonna, what time is it? I have a meeting at 12, and I have like a lunch meeting where I have to go out. Is there a cost for this? No cost. It's free. Completely free. 31 days of lots of information. Completely free. No registration. You do not need to sign up. You're just supposed to show up whenever you can on YouTube that day and follow along at your own pace. And if you can't show up that day, you can do 2 in a day. You can do it in August. You can do it in September. You could do it next year. These videos are going to be on my channel forever. So if July is a busy month for you, don't feel like you have to do it in July. It is World Watercolor Month, but do it at your own pace. They will be up on my channel forever. Okay. I have everything ready. Planned for 5:30 a.m. Hey, you don't have to do it at like the videos are coming out at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you don't have to do it right when they come out. Do it whenever you have time that day. Do not feel like you have to. And then the live streams, if you can't be there, you can be there for the replay. Don't even worry about it, okay? If you're in the closet, where are your clothes? Okay, so my clothes are in dressers in my room and in my kids' room, my kids' closet, because I don't have many clothes that need to be hung. I wear a lot of really casual pajama clothes. I don't go out very often, but the clothes that do need to be hung, they're in my kids' room. I would love to get out of my closet. I am currently raising money for a studio, my friends. I have been working in my closet for 7 years now, and I would love an actual studio, but I need more money. So if you would love to support me in my endeavors of getting out of my walk-in closet, and I know it seems like it's a pretty good space, it's decent, and there's a window, which is a savior, but it is a closet. I can walk from here to there. That's it. There's no other place to go in here. So it is very small, and I would love to actually have a studio. So if you want to support me, become a patron. Okay. I finally bought all the supplies and paints I could ever want and haven't been as crazy about it recently. I keep buying supplies and not doing watercolor. Well, now it's your time. And we're going to start July 1st. Use the watercolors that you have, okay? This is the time to bust it out. We're keeping it super simple, super quick. It's not going to be this long drawn out thing. We just want to enjoy the process of watercolor. That is the point of this. So get them out and do it. Will there be automatic dubbing? I'm Italian. I don't know. Not for the lives, I don't think, but I don't know. I love watching you paint. I'm not an artist of paint. I'm terrible. Well, this is the time to get better. I'm teaching you right from the basics. You can do this. I honestly believe anybody can do this with practice. Okay. Giveaway international. Yes, it will be international. Oh, it's your birthday too. Birthday buddies. Thank you for purchasing my book. You should look into a storage container. They can be altered so easy. Oh, for like a studio? It just where? I live in a townhouse. I don't have property. I don't have property. So looks like I'm living the dream, but you know, I'm sitting in my closet. So no, I'm very lucky that I have what I do. What day is your birthday again, Emma? It is the 22nd of July. Very exciting, even though I hate birthdays, but it's fine. When are the giveaway details happening? Closer to the date. I'll make a post on my YouTube because I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I might do like 2 giveaways of one who can be there for people who are live and then just one in the comments or something. I don't know. I haven't decided how yet, but you'll find out closer to the date. All right. I'm going to get back to work today. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Today is the last day of school for my kid, older child. My other one's still going to be in daycare this summer because I still got to work. But this is my last day of freedom before my oldest takes over and makes me his snack bitch. Excuse my language, but it's true. just feed them snacks all day long. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you July 1st for our first day. I do have a video coming out tomorrow, just like a super chill, laid back video. But other than that, I will see you July 1st. Bye, guys.